Time now for our Rants and Raves, starting with you, Jon Keller.
Okay, well, last week, Emily,
Yes.
you were all over Martha McSally, the U.S. Senator for her...
Arizona Senator.
Arizona, excuse me. For her totally unjustified description of Manu Raju, the excellent congressional reporter for CNN, as a partisan hack. Well, it happened again to poor Manu. This time, it's oleaginous Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who, in a tweet, said about Raju, every GOP senator agrees you are the most partisan, unfair Capitol Hill reporter. Well,
really?
If they do agree on that, then they're even dumber than they appear to be. And I'll tell you something else. This is part of a broader context where I know for a fact from talking to people down there that Republican senators, some of whom, like Cruz, don't face re-election, nonetheless go out of their way to say stuff like this, so they'll get on Fox, so they'll please President Trump, so that they can get something out of him regarding their agenda. This is the game that's going on down there right now.
Yeah, he's at the center of it.
And he doesn't vote. And they still said that.
Is that true?
No.
I have a half-hearted rave for Google. They have finally decided to catch up with Apple and Firefox, and within the next year or so, they are going to eliminate cookies from their browser. And what this means is we'll have a little bit more privacy. There should be somewhat fewer obnoxious ads following you all around the internet. Now, you can be sure that this is going to be good for Google.
Exactly.
But nevertheless, I think it is a step forward toward improvements in privacy, improvements in the web experience. So good for them.
Yeah, but there's got to be a catch.
Oh, it'll be good for Google.
Well,
Absolutely.
They make $1 now.
Dan Lothian.
So I have a rave for the NCNC. That's a North Carolina News Collaborative. And what's great about this is, we've had lots of conversations about how news deserts across the United States and big newspapers are shrinking, and who's going to be the watchdog in the community to keep politicians honest and to point the finger at things going wrong in communities. Well, this is an effort where in North Carolina, where you have 22 newspapers and they share content.
Oh, yeah.
And it allows them to keep the fire going.
They're doing that in Florida, too.
They're doing it in other communities, other states. The difference here is often those are around special projects. This is an ongoing effort. Again, focused mostly on watchdog efforts, but it is ongoing. They have a central, I think they use one place to house all the content. Yeah, I think it's Slack. I think they use Slack to house all the content. And then they have a URL that's assigned to your story, so while everyone can share and collaborate on these stories, it always goes back to the originating news organization. But this is a wonderful way, solution, if you will, to part of the problem of the shrinking
What
news
I
footprint.
worry about is it sounds good for regional coverage. It doesn't sound good for local coverage.
No, you're right. But I mean, you can have local stories that have implications regionally, and those stories, get shared.
All right, Callie.
I'm raving for the Harvard Kennedy School Misinformation Review, which is a new publication where they're going to have scholars and analysts take a look and do some deep dives in issues around misinformation. We spend a lot of time now talking about how misinformation is shared, is distributed, it's created, blah, blah, blah. Here's an example of one of the stories in the Current and First journal. Emphasizing publishers does not effectively reduce susceptibility to misinformation on social media. I would have thought otherwise. So now you have somebody who's doing the data search. They're also saying, because you hear research and data, and that's a slow process, that they have the ability to fast track. If we're in the middle of something that feels like it needs to be attended to in a more scholarly fashion, they're going to try to fast track.
Are they going to be proactive and put stuff out and tell you that something?
Well, I think they're reactive in the sense of they're trying to do a meta-analysis of what is happening. But on the fast track of research, it would be we see something happening, and instead of waiting 10 years, we're going to get right in and see what we can assess in the moment. So I think that's really important to have numbers
All right, well, finally tonight, I mentioned earlier Jim Lehrer when we were talking about somebody who didn't vote, but as many of our viewers know, he was a long-time anchor of the PBS NewsHour who died this week at the age of 85. He was a friend to this show. He came on several times. I interviewed him for his books. And we were talking one day when he was here about being a moderator of the debates, and here's what he said.
You know, the biggest kick I got out of this was you admitting in the book that you actually got nervous.
Oh, God, yes. Very first debate I did, 1988, George H.W. Bush versus Michael Dukakis. And we were about to get in a car, you know, that was going to take us to the hall. So I started whining to my wife, Kate, oh, my God, you know, this is really nerve-wracking. And she said, she didn't literally throw me against the wall, but almost did.
She said, think about how nervous they am. You cut that off. She was saying, well, imagine you're nervous. You've got everything written down. Think about how nervous the candidates are.